What is up, everyone? It's Ryan Gallagher and Ryan Moran here on R&R Talking Football. The 2022 NFL Draft is now in the rearview mirror. An exciting 3 days for our New York Jets with 3 first-round picks, 7 picks total, all in the first 4 rounds. And it was a big opportunity for the Jets, and I think we're all feeling pretty excited and optimistic about the haul that the Jets were able to come away with.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad we finally got answers. Everybody's been, mock draft. And the Jets, surprisingly, I don't want to say surprisingly, because last year, I think under Douglas, it's been pretty clear that we have a pretty good general manager, but I think he even exceeded expectations. There was a lot of expectations specifically for this Jet team because we had 4 picks in the top 38. And, let's just say he did not disappoint. Thursday night was absolutely electric. Another trade up. Last year we got the Vera Tucker trade up. This year, Jermaine Johnson's falling. And then suddenly you see the Jets are on the clock. Always a great time. And so let's get in. We'll get into the picks. I'll share, my screen with you guys so you can follow along. I'm sure you guys know the picks. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of Jet fans will be joining this, but just to have it up on the screen. We'll start off at pick 1, which was Sauce Gardner. I think a lot of people like Sauce, but I don't think many or any Jet fans kind of expected him to be the pick. It was kind of the debate the entire way between pass rusher and maybe tackle and Ekwonu. Just that's what I think 90% of people guessed or predicted. And then the Jets end up sticking to their board, and I think taking their number 1 or 2 player. I'm guessing Hutch would be their number 1. I think Sauce was clearly the number 2 player, and it's something that we kind of echoed. I always kind of steered away from. I wanted the Jets to take blue chip prospects, and it sounds like they did here at pick 4. And corner, a lot of debate between whether Saleh and then valued it in Douglas because history kind of tells you they didn't. But I think in this kind of position where they had so many picks, I think they were flexible. And I don't think they just kind of let the need dictate their board. I think they played the board in general throughout the entire draft as good as you can play it. But we'll stick with 4 first. We'll get to the other ones as well. So what were your thoughts about Sauce? Were you shocked and were you happy?
Absolutely. I'm pumped with Ahmad Sauce Gardner being a Jet. Definitely was pleasantly surprised. I mean, really all Jet fans talked about it throughout the process. The background of Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh as O-line and D-line, priority. They prioritize obviously those position groups with JD's background and just Saleh's defensive philosophy in general with the way that the front 4 has to get home. I think especially having both Kayvon Thibodeau and Ike Ekwonu on the board, I mean, it definitely was a pleasant shock. But Sauce, you said it best. The Jets needed blue chip, superstar elite level caliber prospects. And Sauce is, I mean, a surefire thing really as it gets in this draft. And just the attitude he's going to bring to the defense, you can debate ad nauseum, I guess, the value in the scheme that the Jets run corner, but just generally speaking, I mean, corner is an impact premium position. We saw it firsthand with Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie. Hopefully now with Sauce and DJ Reed on the outside, 2 massive upgrades that can, help this defense improve in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pumped for it. I think he had really clean tape, a couple of years of production, never gave up a touchdown in college, which is crazy. And, in a draft that we were kind of like up in the air about, there was Kayvon questions, even though you were still big fans of him. Once we kind of got down to that last week, I had it narrowed down between Sauce and Ekwonu in terms of who I wanted. And, at the end, I did want Gardner. I wanted to give back to him one more shot with his talent. So I was all for Team Sauce, but like I said, I'm still surprised it happened. But I'm glad. I really think that's going to be our cornerback unit. It's funny because me and you started this right after the season in January. And I said our best corner last season was Michael Carter, the second. I think the Jets agreed with me because which was not a popular take at the time because, we now have a deep cornerback unit, but I don't think the Jets, and I think this kind of clarifies it. Obviously, I think they viewed Sauce in a blue chip prospect anyway, but, the fact that they signed DJ Reed, they got Sauce Gardner, the Jets just weren't very high in their cornerback unit in terms of starters, but now we had all these young guys have starting valuable experience, and now suddenly the Jets have one of the deepest and I think a really promising cornerback unit in the league. I would say it's top 10. We'd say let's just see Sauce, as a rookie, it might be a little bit of growing pains, but For the future, it looks like it looks amazing, and for the first time in quite a while, like surprisingly, the Jets are kind of known for having good defenses throughout the years, but the cornerback unit for a long, long time has been pretty bad, honestly, not even mediocre, like bad. So pumped for that. Let's move on. Pick 10.
All right,
I would
well,
say, and another, I wouldn't say surprise because Garrett Wilson was one of the receivers, I guess, Jeff fans and people wanted and mentioned throughout the entire draft process. But with how pick 4 played out, I think everybody expected us to take Jermaine Johnson at 10 because of how important the pass rush is. But it goes back to what I was saying before. Douglas and them had a really strong conviction. They kind of I don't know if they got, I mean, sure, there's a little bit of luck involved, but they not only stuck to their board, but they had a good idea of the wide receiver run that was happening. So instead of, letting us miss out on it, because after we had Drake London go at 8, obviously we had a wide receiver at 10 and then 11 and then 12. So if the Jets would have taken Jermaine, still would have been a good player, but you would have missed out on the top. I think ended up 6 or 7 receivers went in the first round, right? I think 6.
yes. And really, you would have missed out on the top 4, the consensus top 4,
Yeah.
because Olave and JMO went right after.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the Jets prioritize health in this draft as well. I love Jameson Williams, but if the reports are true about November, December, I still think it would have been worth it, and I would have been happy if we did it. But at the same time, I get it because the Jets, unlike a lot of the other second-year quarterbacks, they did a really, really good job of helping Zach Wilson take that next leap. And while I think Garrett Wilson has ways to go, just everything about him, the way he the yak. There's not a lot he can't do. So I'm so excited to get him. It's a first receiver we've taken in the first round since Santana Moss, quite a while. And suddenly the Jets have a really young, I think the average age of the offense is 25 and under. So young, fun. And it's something you cannot say about the Jets offense in our lifetime. So excited for that.
100% really excited about Garrett Wilson, just the big play threat ability he's going to bring to the offense, 4.3 speed, electric routes, quickness with the ball in his hands after the catch to make guys miss, which is important in this scheme. You add that with Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, just the route running, the ability to play in the slot, where he got valuable experience at Ohio State. His ability vertically down the field to make plays, his contested catch ability for a smaller guy is really impressive. His body control, the way he can just so easily adapt to the ball in the air and make acrobatic catches. I think in the red zone, he's going to be valuable for Zach Wilson, and just him and Elijah Moore. I mean, make this offense electric. I feel like it's been so long. You said it best. The last time we, had young receivers like this who were as talented as Garrett and Elijah are, and the value at 10 was perfect in my opinion. I think you said it best to, pass on an edge there for Zach Wilson. Not only Zach Wilson's development, but clearly, I mean, they had Wilson highly valued on their board, and really just couldn't be more excited about the pick at 10.
Yeah, absolutely. You really laid it out perfectly. I just love the versatility that this offense has in general. But I think Garrett's in the lineup all over the place, along with Elijah Moore. I think they'll both kind of line up outside at times and then in the slot at times. So Jets have a lot of chess pieces and mismatches to take advantage of. And, gone are the days where we had nothing and injuries, ravaging. Honestly, we have so much depth now too, where it's not like if one guy has to miss a game or two, it's not the end of the world. We can still go out there and compete and put up points. And so let's get to our edge rusher, something that we're not used to saying. After we picked Garrett Wilson, I think a lot of us kind of thought, all right, second round edge rusher. What are we going to do? See how the board falls. I don't think anybody anticipated Jermaine falling out of the top 15. I was pretty sure he was going to go to like Baltimore, some place like that. And then suddenly, the draft's going on and it's pick after pick and he's still not taken. And, the Jets went up. They said, like Joe Douglas said, I think he was calling teams since pick 15. So this is a guy they clearly loved and wanted.
Had in their top 8.
Yeah. So they had 3 guys taken, in the first round who were in there. You said top 8. I thought it was top 10. Either way,
that's what they said.
Still a masterpiece, and some of the Jets obviously coached at the Senior Bowl. They seen him for a week. They met with him a few times. And honestly, I think he was a fan favorite by the Jets. So it's kind of funny that we ended up, did getting him in this kind of scenario. And this is a scenario where you kind of dream of. I mean, Jermaine was talked about seriously at pick 4, definitely at pick 10. I think he was either the favorite by Vegas, like just one of the main options, and then walk away with him at 26. We were all feeling pretty good Thursday night, no doubt about it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, absolutely surprised that JJ fell as far as he did, and couldn't be more excited the Jets were able to trade up and get him. Um, just the effort, the motor, what he's going to do as a run defender. I mean, they didn't really add a true nose tackle or run stopping linebacker this offseason to replace a guy like Foley. But between Jordan Whitehead, DJ Reed, Sauce, and now Jermaine Johnson, I mean, those guys are going to make this run defense better from the jump. JJ has really all the measurables when you look at size, speed, athletic ability, to really be an impact player along the defensive line as a pass rusher. I mean, he was very productive a year ago. I think the fit in the scheme is really big for him. Just as a wide nine, attack up the field vertically, off the snap, having him and Carl Lawson on the edge, really gives the Jets some explosiveness. And you really, with these 3 first-round picks, you address premium positions. Obviously, you weren't drafting the quarterback. If it wasn't Aquanu, you weren't going O-line. So the next 3 positions up, obviously D-line, corner, and receiver, which were all addressed here. And I feel like the value on all 3 is pretty strong.
Yeah, totally agreed. I think once this pick got locked in, Jet fans erupted. So you think that this guy was taken first overall with how Jet fans reacted, including us. I loved when he was drafted, him going into the crowd with Jet fans. That was an amazing moment. Probably my favorite, I guess, from the first night. So love to see that. I do love the fit as well. I think he actually comes in and gets 7 to 9 sacks in his rookie year. Obviously, there'll be a decent rotation, but just the effort that guy has. Not only obviously had 12 sacks last year in his college career, but the measurables are really important for edge rushers, and the fact that he ran a 4.58, really, really good, and 96 percentile 10-yard split, super important.
I think it was a 1.5 something.
Yeah, so that is crucial, and this guy gives it his all. And I think under Saleh, with this kind of, our defensive line's looking really nasty, and just to have Carl Lawson back and now Jermaine Johnson, including all the depth guys we signed, it's going to be a really fun unit. And another position we can talk about where we've never had an edge rusher. People, Jet fans have been wanting one since John Abraham, and that was 10 to 15 years ago. So times are definitely changing, and that's a theme that's coming up, last year now, especially this year. We finally, this is such a there's such a defining moment, for this organization, for this general manager, for this coach. Just like, I know we had a lot of picks, but it was one of those things where like you had to hit on them. Like we always talked about throughout every mock draft, every free agency prediction. But most importantly for this topic, as we're talking about the draft here, we needed to walk away with 4 players that we can come in, not only start, but be actual game changers and high-end players in the league. And I think we accomplished that with our first 4 picks. And then our next pick, kind of another surprise, but an excellent player, the number 1 running back in the draft. They traded up just 2 spots, only gave up a 5th round pick, and they walked away with Breece Hall.
I mean, really couldn't be more excited about Breece. He was RB1 for you and I for quite some time. You talk about a guy with a ton of size at 220 pounds and that 4.3 speeds. I mean, he's explosive. He's a big play threat. The way him and Michael Carter can really complement each other, just with the, complementary skill sets. I mean, Carter's a smaller guy, built lower to the ground, good quickness, shifty. The contact balance is incredible. And then Breece has really, change of pace with his size and speed, way he can create big plays. And what's really nice about them both is how, in the passing game, they're pretty complete as not just receivers, but as blockers as well. I mean, that's incredibly valuable. And, I guess there was somewhat of a chance Breece was picked late in the first round, whether it was the Bills or whoever. And to be able to get him, there at 36 in the second round was, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the talent that he brings alone. Like, I think he honestly walks in and is a top 15 running back on day 1. I think the rotation, I think Breece Hall obviously is going to be our starter, but I don't really try to look at it like that. I know a lot of Jet fans have been kind of going like 60-40 and stuff, and that's fine. I feel like that prolongs Carter's career, makes him more effective. I didn't want him getting 25, 30 touches. We talked about this, whether we took one here or whether it was day 3. We'd seen somebody else, and just never did I imagine. We talked about Breece Hall a little bit, but never did I imagine the Jets were going to do it. But, I'm glad they added guys who were at top of their board. And maybe, you can argue running back's obviously not the most important position, but it just kind of rounds out the entire offense, makes life easier on Michael Carter. It definitely helps Zach Wilson because we want to be running the football. That's what this team wants to do. And to have two running backs who are complement each other so well, but who are good at football. I mean, it's not just like it's funny to say, but that's the truth. Brees Hall, the talent is unbelievable. He's 20 years old, which is perfect for running back. That's a position you definitely want to be young at. He did get a lot of carries in college, but I think the stat was, I think he went like 30 games in a row with a touchdown. He had like 56 touchdowns in his career in college. Just unbelievable. A guy you're talking about, years ago, he's a first round pick for sure. I know running back's been a little bit devalued, but first round talent, mocked to the Bills for most of draft season. And then, just to get that kind of player at 36 it's so exciting. It helps Zach and the offense, like we're talking about with Garrett Wilson. I feel like our offense is complete. Obviously, it's on paper right now. We gotta let guys develop, not jump the gun in terms of wanting a top 10 offense. But I think the talent is finally there where it could be, depending on if Zach takes that next step and the O-line stays healthy.
Right. I mean, this pick with Brees Hall here really solidified just the starters. You create depth at running back now with Tevin Coleman as well, which is great. And I think this just gives Zach Wilson, more support. I think it's, critical going into the second year for him to have everything around him possible. The offensive line was shored up in free agency with Laken Tomlinson. You add Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and three tight ends. Obviously, we're going to get into Ruckert next year. And lastly, with Brees, I mean, it's not even just like the physical and athletic ability that he's got. I mean, he's got good patience, good vision. And in this game, he has that one cut ability. He can make you miss. I saw a broken tackle stat that, was impressive that he had over the last 3 years. So overall, I mean, couldn't be more excited about getting Brees there.
Absolutely. Before we head to Ruckert, let me ask you this. Over under, the Jets have 2,000 rushing yards.
Between Brees Hall and Michael Carter?
Yep. Oh, the Jets in general. You can add Zach Wilson, whatever he gets, Tevin Coleman a little bit.
You're saying
as a team, the Jets over under 2,000 rushing yards.
Oof, that's tough to say. I feel like they'll be close. I'll say under though.
Okay, I'm actually gonna go over.
Okay.
I think the Jets want to pound the ball. I think they have not only the running backs but the offensive line to do it. I feel like they're not going to want Zach to throw 25 or 30 times a game. Obviously, each game will dictate something different depending on if we're trailing or not. But I think the Jets have the roster to actually be in games this year where we don't have to throw 40 times, 50 times each game. Obviously, we have that extra game as well just to boost the stats a little bit. But, and another stat that I can confidently say over, assuming they stay healthy, Brees Hall and Carter scrimmage yards combined 2,000. I think that's clear over just with the receiving as well.
I'm with you.
But, super exciting. When's the last time we could say that? I think maybe Chris Ivory and Powell.
Right.
And then,
I mean, just adding Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson gives the offense so much more explosiveness.
Yeah. Another thing, I love Chris Ivory. I think he's one of the most underrated running backs in the league when we had him. And I love Powell. Powell's obviously a fan favorite here. But the talent here is better. Brees Hall and Carter is just it's going to be unbelievable. And I think probably the best running back in terms of in their prime, because Jets have had some older veterans sign here in LT, Frank Gore, even Matt Forte. But in their prime, I think Brees Hall, other than Curtis Martin, I think Brees Hall is going to be our best running back that we've had in the last 15, 20 years, which is amazing. And it helps going to help the second year quarterback. And Zach, and let's go on to Long Island's finest, Jeremy Ruckert. I guess another kind of surprise, not necessarily the talent or the player, just kind of we addressed the position in free agency with signing Uzama and Conklin. I think a lot of people did want to get one on day 3, but I just think this is another scenario where the Jets stuck to their board. They met with this guy in the Senior Bowl, loved him. Some people had him as tight end 1. I think majority of people had him as tight end 2 or 3 in this class. The Jets kind of stuck there at 101 end of the third and said, we can't pass on this guy. And obviously, I'm sure every Jet fan has seen it, but if you haven't, see his family's reaction, him being drafted, my absolute favorite moment, not draft pick, but just the draft reaction from our pick. So I'll let you go ahead. What were your thoughts about Ruckert?
Absolutely. I mean, what an overhaul by Joe Douglas this offseason at the tight end position, giving Zach 3 security blankets now who can really play both in the run and pass game. You look at, even with the Uzama and Conklin free agent signings, I still had a feeling at some point they were going to take a tight end in the 3rd or 4th round. and really wasn't surprised when Ruckert was the pick, honestly. An awesome moment with him, obviously being a Jet fan. It's all family from Long Island. I think right away this guy is going to have a role. I think Michael Ford is going to look to rotate these 3 tight ends, just keep them all fresh. They're really, like I said, they can all, hold their own in the running game as blockers. And I think that's right away where Ruckert's going to make his impact felt. Even as a pass blocker. I mean, the game he had against George Karlaftis, I feel like is pretty well documented. And I think his athletic ability is there, just with more opportunities as a receiver in the passing game. I think he's got the potential to be a great tight end, for a long time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jets are going to run a bunch of 12 set anyway, so we'll have 2 tight ends on the field quite a lot. Ruckert, I think in year 1, he is a good pass blocker. Not really utilized as much as he could have been at Ohio State, obviously because of the receivers they had. So it's cool. Also, I guess that we got Garrett and Jeremy, with the team as well, both from Ohio State. And just I love the fit. I think he is going to play more than people realize his rookie year. I wouldn't say a crazy amount, but I do view him as a future starter, and to get that in round 3 is absolutely amazing. And that was just the highlight. Day 1 and 2, just really, really strong class by the Jets. I think that's kind of consensus around the league, not just by Jet fans, which is a nice thing to see. Obviously, it's all on paper, but this was like best case scenario doing mock drafts and just coming out like this. This is what it looks like, honestly. And then we'll day 3, probably the quickest day 3 I can remember in Jets history. We were done. Draft started at 12. We were done before 1, I think. Obviously 2 picks in the 4th. We had to give up the 2 5s in the trade up, one of them for Jermaine, and the other one to move up for Breece Hall. So you know what? I like being aggressive. I wanted Joe Douglas to be aggressive. I said there's no reason why we need 9 draft picks because we've been stockpiling them for years. And the roster is finally, now there's still some holes on it, of course, but the roster is now, dare I say, pretty good, especially at a couple of spots. But one spot we needed on day 3 was clearly a swing tackle, whether it was here or whether it was free agency. And we got Max Mitchell, another Senior Bowl guy. That's another thing we should probably mention. 3 out of the 7 draft picks the Jets drafted were from the Senior Bowl, so clearly had a pretty big impact on the Jets. And it was a good thing, honestly. It started our draft process, and obviously when you get 3 out of 7, it's a crucial milestone for this team. So what are your thoughts about Max Mitchell?
Absolutely. He was someone I wanted all along. Really productive run blocker last year, a guy with good athleticism, good quickness. I think him just getting a little bit stronger, would really go a long way for him, as a potential long-term starter. It was pretty, I feel like well known throughout most of the media and Jets fans. I mean, after George Fant and Mekhi Becton, that 3rd offensive tackle spot was, a major concern. I mean, you're an injury away from, a huge question mark at offensive tackle. And I think Mitchell, bringing him in kind of solidifies that. Somebody who was really productive a year ago. I think the value here, was pretty good. I mean, people like Daniel Jeremiah really liked him a lot throughout the process. And, overall, I think to add depth on the offensive line is always beneficial, especially for a young quarterback. And I think Mitchell can fit the scheme with his athleticism and quickness that he has. And, just getting a little stronger, like I said, would really, go a long way with more experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just we're 1 injury from Connor McDermott, and we just did not want that, the scenario to play out. So we figured it was coming. People predicted Equano at 4, but whether that happened or not, this was always happening at some point during this draft. And hopefully, like you said, with the year of development, hopefully we have no injuries, knock on wood, especially the tackle position where, he could be a future starter in a year or 2. But even if he's not, to take a swing tackle, if he's a long-term swing tackle,
that's a great pick.
That's a good pick, and it's worth it in this scenario. And then we'll wrap it up here. 6 picks later, Michael Clemens, another pass and edge rusher. I'll start off here. I'm kind of shocked. I mean, I'm kind of glad we did go defense because I thought this defense. I thought this draft in general was going to be primarily defense, and obviously we split it up 4 offense, 3 defense. I don't mind it like that because, like I said, we were playing the board. But I had thought we were going to go maybe 5 defense, 2 offense. But at the same time, Michael Clemens, an edge rusher, maybe not a need, but this is a staff, under Saleh. You see what the Niners do every year. They clearly have 9, 10, 11 guys, defensive linemen on their team at all times. So I wouldn't say it's a complete surprise, but we did have other holes that I think we're going to mention at the end of the episode in terms of linebacker, safety. But you know what? If this guy was ranked pretty high by them, I think Albright really liked him. That if you've seen the draft reaction from him, so maybe this was one of his guys, one of his picks, and it's really hard to complain. I think he obviously he's a little bit older, which is not really ideal, but if he comes in, he's a rotational guy. It's not the end of the world. So he plays angry, he's violent. He has long arms. I think he's a pretty good athlete as well. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't expect anything crazy. But like just to wrap up the draft, I think it's a fine pick. I would want
Right.
Brandon Smith, but I'm not going to complain over our last draft pick.
Absolutely. I mean, it definitely was a bit of a pleasant surprise. You said it needs at nose tackle, linebacker, free safety. Do they continue to add depth to the offense, around Zach in case of injury? But clearly, I mean, Clemens was someone here that they liked a lot and they valued because you look obviously with Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson, Jacob Martin, Bryce Huff, and bringing Vinny Curry back. I mean, there's so many guys there at edge to begin with. So they clearly, were infatuated by Clemens. And, I think the size that he brings, you said it, the long arms, the overall just frame that he has, he brings good power, which is a bit different compared to what the Jets, really have. It's a lot of speed and finesse. I feel like guys with quick get off, which Clemens has as well. And just the overall depth on the defensive line, that they want to rotate in and out a ton. And I think Clemens, situationally could potentially bring some to the D line.
Absolutely. And you know what? At the end of the day, like we're all very excited just to talk about finally have the draft over with, but not only that, just to way it played out as well. Just so exciting. Unfortunately now we got to wait a couple months, at least for training camp, but we do have the schedule coming out on May 12th. So 10 days away, we'll finally see when our bye week is, who's up first. I think that's the one everybody wants to know. So anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, just a really exciting draft. Obviously one we were all, waiting for years. I mean, with the Jamal Adams trade, Sam Darnold, it was a wait, but I think it was worth it, in the end to add as much premium talent as you did. Like I said, it's not even just us as Jets fans. I mean, people out there really like the class that they were able to put together. And I think we felt really good about last year, with Zach, Elijah Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore, both Michael Carters. And once again, I mean, just added really safe prospects in JJ, Garrett Wilson, Sauce, Ruckert, Brees. So I think overall, you couldn't really ask for much more from Joe Douglas and his staff. And just really excited to see these guys, in rookie minicamp in the coming weeks here.
Absolutely. And well, thank you guys. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments. I'm sure everyone's kind of excited. I haven't seen one Jet fan that's not. And in future videos, I think once the schedule comes out, maybe we'll talk about maybe our expectations, because for me, they definitely have been raised since our draft class, and I don't want to put that much pressure on them. But like you were saying with the talent, even last year, those guys are going into year two. The talent overhaul the last 2 years cannot be understated. And I think the Jets are going from the basement, at least in the middle of the pack, which is fun. And hopefully we'll obviously be competing for that last playoff spot. And you know what? I can't wait for the season. That's something that, usually we're done in September, October. We want it to end, but not this year, man. I'm all in. I'm excited. And I can't wait to see, what these players, I'm getting a jersey this year. Last couple of years I've been I haven't gotten a jersey in a couple of years because it's been rough and some of these guys are in and out, but I really feel like we have some long-term pieces here. We finally have that part of the roster where you can say we have 10 to 12 guys we feel really good about. In the past, we've had maybe 2 or 3 on the roster at a certain time. So it really feels like we're turning the corner, and I'm just so excited. Everyone should be excited as a Jet fan.
100%. I mean, they've said it for a while now that they expect to be playing competitive football games into December. And I think that's realistic. I mean, honestly, you look at this team on paper right now across the board, there's definitely been an influx in talent over the last 2 years. You'll be getting some of those guys from free agency back from last year, and Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, who missed some time with injury. And, this offseason, between the free agency and draft class, I mean, this team is a lot better on paper. And I think with, that just comes a better situation for Zach, where he can build on what he did at the end of last season. The coaching staff, has a year under their belt, more chemistry, obviously, with the front office. And I feel like there was a good plan that Joe and Robert had going into this that they fully executed. And I think it could potentially give the Jets for the long term, something to feel great about.
Yep. So absolutely, thank you guys for joining us once again, and let's go Jets.
Let's go Jets.